because everybody that watches this, I'm going to want you guys to do the same thing that I do. And I'm going to start with the budgeting right here. I want you guys to go back to this document. And first off, I found this. I saw this and it totally reminded me of my project for this unit. And that was go back to spreadsheets. In math, oops. In school, you learn, numbers and counting, basic operations. Come on, why is wrong with I'm using this Apple mouse, and because my mouse is kaput, I need to fix it. This keeps like doing this stupid stuff. Here, maybe I'll do this. So, you start with counting and then basic operations, and you look at geometry, and then algebra, you start doing some fun stuff with quadratics, and you start doing like, square roots and ratios and graphing, and then trig functions, complex numbers, calculus is really hard. And then when you get a job, you're in spreadsheets, and you're in spreadsheets pretty much forever. I think that's so true. And I think, this project-based learning I threw in the spreadsheets. I said, I want you guys to have a little bit of exposure to spreadsheets so you guys can, oh, I don't know why I hit escape there. So you guys can, have a little bit of experience with it for your jobs. But I would like you guys to go to here, and it should allow you to edit and come down to the big takeaways and give me some of your big takeaways from the budgeting unit since we're done with it. And if you want to add anything to the top, does it, Dalton, does it let you edit it? It does. Okay, good.
Yeah.
If you guys want to add anything to the top for next year to circle back to, feel free to do that. But take a minute and tell me your big takeaways, and hopefully everybody else will go back here and do this too when they watch this recording. And then I'm going to go to this insurance, and this is the same thing. And we're going to start the next unit with the same need to know for the insurance unit. Let me talk a little bit just to remind you kind of what we were doing while you guys are doing that. We talked about budgeting as a way of coping with scarcity, as a prioritization of values, and maximizing your efficiency. We talked about budgets as, a way of staying disciplined, and budgeting is different for everybody. Talked about budgeting as setting goals. We talked about different ways to make a budget based on looking at the past or looking at the expenses first. And we looked at the average American budget and what that looks like. And we looked at the recommendations on various experts on what percentage of your income should be spent on what categories. And we talked about fixed expenses versus variable expenses, where fixed expenses you cannot control in the short term versus variable expenses you can control in the short term. we talked about giving to charity and potential tax implications where you can write off your charitable giving. And we talked a little bit about cash flows. I'm going to go into that a little bit more today. And we had the bean assignment, which talked about scarcity, and we had the spending plan, which talked about matching up your income and your expenses. And then we had the project-based learning. Okay. And I hope that that unit was beneficial for you and that we covered most of what's up here. And the second link is to the need to know for insurance. So the next unit is going to be insurance. And we're going to circle back to a few things on budgeting before we get to insurance, but go ahead and click on the second link when you're ready and fill out. And you can do more than one takeaway from the unit, obviously. But go ahead and fill out the need to know for the insurance when you're ready. And then we'll circle back to budgeting and then we'll get to insurance. Now, Dalton, are you a senior?
Yes, I am.
And Jesse, are you a senior?
Yeah.
Are you guys planning on taking the ACT again, or are you done?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Me neither. I probably will.
Okay. Friday at 10:30, I'm going to be on this Zoom doing a little ACT presentation. And I'm gonna try to remember to record it. But if you want to learn a little bit about the ACT and some test taking tips and strategies, feel free to come to that. I'm making, quote unquote, making my juniors and sophomores go, but for seniors, it's up to you guys because some seniors will not take the ACT again. And then if you do want to do the ACT practice, there's some ACT practice that's going to be in the BVLA high school. And that is free for you, whereas my babysitter pays $25 an hour for coaching. And then there is a BVLA buddy program, and I'm gonna try to find some things for like career fairs, and we need to start posting more there on the bulletin boards. I'm assuming that your home schools are also posting career fairs and job opportunities and scholarship opportunities on their announcements. Hopefully you guys are reading those newsletters and announcements for different things that can come up. The best thing that I don't know, I always had a great time going to career fairs, even though I wasn't interested in really, or I wouldn't have the opportunity to work for the employers. Talking with the employers really gave me great insight into things I can do to better position myself or different possibilities that I had never considered before. There's so many different types of jobs and needs out there that are we just don't have time to get to them in school, and we don't have a lot of parents don't have time to explore them all. And those career fairs can really open your eyes as to what's out there in the world. Insurance company pays to insure if an accident is occurred, we cover most insurance to cover everything you might need. Which insurance policy to buy in different situations? Oh, yes, Dalton, that's a tough one. Or is that Abby? That's Dalton. What different insurance companies policies are and what they provide? Yeah, we're gonna talk about shopping. Okay, do you guys need more? Do you guys want to add more, or are you done?
I'm ready.
Okay. Jesse, you good? Okay. So first off, I want to kind of apologize to you guys. Well, I guess I'm not really apologizing, but I want to say thank you for going through this. This is my second year teaching financial math, and I guess technically it's my third time doing it, but my second year doing it. And when you put everything together virtually along with 2 other classes, it's very hard to have things set and great. And I'm kind of learning as I go as much as you guys are. So I really appreciate you guys doing a great job for the things that I'm asking you to do and explore. And I'm able to go back and make things better after the fact. And so that's why I feel thank you for your great service and teaching me how to make it better. And so I went back to this budgeting notes and I improved it a little bit. And namely, I improved down here on the PVL. And let me get here. Okay, so you guys wrote your letters and most letters were good. Okay, some people went really specific. They said your current spending percentage for this category is X, and we are going to change it to Y amount per month, and then your new percentage will be Z%. And that is the type of technical writing that people want to see. Okay. Make it very clear to them, if you want to save $700 a month, you're going to reduce spending in this category by this amount. And that is clear, concise language. And that's great technical writing. My one surprise was how we were, and I did not specify like how good the letter had to be. So in the future, I'm going to specify this, but there's a letter template in Google Docs, and you guys can see my screen. Yeah. And it's right there for you where you have the date and your address and the address of the sendee. And I think that is the way that you should practice making these letters, so that every letter you do in the future is going to be just like that. And that is the best form. And it comes down to just that impression that you get. Like sometimes you open a letter and you get the impression that this is an official letter and this person is coming from a position of authority or knowledge. And sometimes you open a letter and you think, oh my God, this is a jumbled wreck. Who wrote this? And I'm not trying to criticize anybody in what they've learned, and I don't know. And like I said, I didn't specify how good it had to be, so I didn't really take off points, too much for it. But in the future, use this template to help you if you need to in making your letters, whatever it is, job or cover letter or a class assignment. But make your letters look professional, okay? And then the spreadsheet, I was really happy everybody used a spreadsheet. Some people used the formulas and some people did not. And I was really hoping you guys would take on to the formulas, okay? Now, this was mine, okay? And like I said, there's this is a conditional sum if, where you select a range and then you select another range to sum up, and then you add, and it'll explain it to you as you type it in. So I think it'll go right here. So sum if, and then when you hit the parentheses, it says type in the range. So you can drag and drop the range, and then select what you want as the criterion. and then select what you want as the range to add up together. Okay, and so it'll explain it, I think, to you more based on how you're doing. But I put this video in the supplemental materials, and I was hoping that you guys would watch that video and learn how to use this because, hey, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining us, Abby. You know, this is another tool you can put in your tool belt, and a lot of jobs that you get are going to require you to do spreadsheets. And people talk all the time about how employers pay people a lot of money for time. They pay them for a lot of time in order to run reports and get information. And you know, you can even run it where you create a macros. You can learn how to it's add-on right here where you get an add-on macro, and you can basically tell Excel or this Google Sheets what to do when you get a new spreadsheet, and it'll run it automatically. So it takes like 5 seconds to do. And the employer still pays them for the 3 hours that it takes to do it manually. And so it really comes down to, if you learn a little bit about it, you can work smarter, not harder. And a lot of jobs, and for budgeting, for your purposes, you can create budgets and spreadsheets for yourself a lot easier using those functions. Okay. Some people use this template I gave, and some people made their own, and I was really happy if you tried to do that. So really good job overall on the PBL. Okay, does anybody want to add anything or give any other comments or feedback about the PBL? And you do get a chance to do it in the reflection, which I need to post. I don't think I posted the reflection. Anybody else want to say anything about it? Okay, so I was really happy with that. I want to go back and talk about one more thing about budgeting. I didn't get a chance to prep it before the last class, and that is this idea that not that, I don't want that, cash flow is a concept like a bathtub. Okay, so in this case, this little illustrator is set up as for like a business cash flow, but your life also has a cash flow where you get money in at certain points and money comes out at certain points. And it's not, yeah, like the money in and the money out as put out in the budget is important, but more important so is how you manage the money in the tub, not how you manage it, but that you have money in the tub. Okay, so the budget will tell you your revenue, your cash inflow, putting money into the tub, and it'll tell you your expenses or the money coming out of the tub, but it won't specify the time. Okay, and so the things that will get you in trouble are when the tub runs out of money. And at the end of the month, you might have enough, but if you run out of all the money in your tub during the month, you very well might be in big trouble. Okay, that's where you get hit with overdraft fees. That's where you get hit with interest payments. That's where you have to take out some of these short-term payday loans. This is where it costs a lot of money to individuals when they run out of cash in the bucket, in the tub. Okay, is what I'm saying making sense?
Yes.
Even though you have a budget for the beginning of the month and the end of the month, or maybe each month, or maybe the year, and even though those numbers might be fine, you still have to consider the cash flow where you need money or you need water in the tub in order to stay liquid in order to pay your bills. There's not a very good way to teach that per se. So you have to consider how you're going to stay liquid through the month. Okay. I've not been able to see anything yet, and I'm not an expert, and maybe there is something, but I have not come up with a good way to teach it. But I can show you this little metaphor, and you need to consider the cost of running out of money in the tub or the water in the tub, because that's where you get hit with serious finance charges. Okay. All right. So Dalton said that makes sense. Jesse and Abby, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I love this visual illustration. And then I saw this, and I thought, I was just reading and I saw this chart and I saved it and I emailed it to myself. So here we are. We're not in unit 1 anymore when we talked about mean versus median, but this chart is about 401k balances in the United States by age. Okay. Now, 401k, do you guys remember what 401k is? Can you guys tell me what a 401k is? Who can do that? Can anybody do that?
It's a form of pension, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, close. It's not a pension per se. A pension is defined contribution where you get a certain amount of money till you die. 401k is not defined, it is your savings. So it is a retirement account, just like a pension is, but there's a certain amount of money there and you draw out of it. You are allowed to draw out of it with tax, not incentives, I guess incentives. There's tax advantages when you draw out of it when you retire. Okay. And so let's say you have $100,000 in a 401k, you withdraw $10,000 a year and you are out of money in 10 years. Okay. And so there's a pot of money. Now a pension, you're going to draw whatever amount it is. Let's say it's 10,000 per year in a pension. You draw that forever because it's defined as a contribution to you. It'll never run out. Yes, someone is paying for it, but so the 401k is like a savings plan for retirement accounts. So this shows you the average 401k balance per age group of Americans, and it shows you the median balance. Now, what do you guys see right away? There should be something that stands out to you and you should be like, look at that. What is it?
The difference in balance from 25 to 34 and 35 to 44.
Okay, there's that is a big difference. That is true. That should make sense, as when you're 22 to 25, you should have not had a long longevity. You should not have had any longevity in your working life to save, because if you're not working, you're not saving. To me, the big thing is to look at the difference between the average balance and the median balance. For example, for the first row, the difference is about $3,500. In the second row, the difference is about $16,000, and then it goes up to about $48,000. So there's a huge difference between the mean or the average and the median. And if you remember back to unit 1, we said that a few people at the top of the wage scale, a few people at the top of the industry are going to ruin the mean salary in the industry as a true representative or a good representation of what the wages are. And this is so true right now. This is a glaring example to me or proof or evidence of how bad the inequality is of wealth in the United States. This is saying because the average 401k balance is incredibly much or is much larger than the median balance, you have a few people at the top who have large sums of wealth in their 401k balance, and you have the majority of people having way less than that. Okay, does that make sense? Now that's what stands out to me. So Dalton, you saying, hey, I noticed this, that is definitely valid. And I do want to point out, like, you should notice that. But my idea was to share with you a follow-up or an extra that goes along with the learning from unit 1. And that's the difference between average and median. By the way, for 401ks, you can contribute up to $19,000 per year, is what I believe it is now. It changes every year because it's built into the tax law, and tax law changes every year. So, you know, it's been less in the past. Sometimes it might be more in the future, it might be less. And then once you hit a certain age, I think it's 55, they allow you to contribute a whole bunch more as kind of a catch-up contribution. And so, you know, if you're getting up there in years and you don't have a 401k, then you're allowed to contribute more. And the tax advantage I was talking about is most of these savings go in as a way to hide your income from from federal income taxes. And so, you know, let's say you make $100,000 a year, instead of being taxed on $100,000 of income, you could put in, you know, that $20,000 into your 401k, and now you're taxed at on $80,000 of income. Even though you have income of $100,000, you're going to see that income when you retire. And the reason the government does that is because people are incredibly bad at saving money for the future. And the government says, well, we're going to essentially, you know, give you this tax advantage, which is essentially saying we're going to pay you to save money so you have money in the future, and your future self will not be poor and destitute and be a burden on our country. And the government won't say you're a burden on them. So, all right. Any questions about IRAs or this? Okay, I hope that was worth your time. All right. For insurance, the first few assignments for insurance that you're going to have, we're going to have to talk about vocabulary, because the world of insurance is a world that we don't talk about in grade school. And there's a lot of vocabulary there to you know, in order to have the conversation. Okay. Now, when you look up the vocabulary words, don't just Google it and then copy and paste the first thing that comes up. I'm going to know that. I've seen kids do that, and it frustrates me that I'm trying to teach a unit on insurance, and I want you guys to own your learning and look up some of the words first so you can come back with questions. And you're giving me a definition of something completely out of the context of insurance, because the words have meaning in everyday use, and then they have a meaning in the world of insurance. Okay, so premium, for example, or risk. Okay, that those words have different meanings for insurance, and you can find those and tell them to me. Okay, there's different types of insurance. This is a very nebulous unit. There's health insurance, then there's different types of health insurance. There's HMOs and PPOs, then there's life insurance, and for life insurance you have term and whole, and then there's homeowners insurance, then there's renters insurance, and then auto insurance, and then you have all the add-ons for auto insurance. So it's a very there's a bunch of vocabulary there. And you guys are gonna have to help yourselves and learn the vocabulary. Now I'm going to talk about the vocabulary, but I want you to try to get some of the words yourself first. Okay. And that's when you take ownership of that learning, it's going to stick with you a lot more than if somebody were to just tell you the first time right away. Okay. Now, if it gets too much, just know that when you work every day and you raise a family or do whatever, you will not know everything about insurance, and you will have to remember it kind of as you go along the way too. Insurance is this thing that, you only deal with it when you shop, and you only deal with it when you get a huge bill and you're trying to figure it out. And therefore you rarely think about, and it's never on the front of your brain. Okay. But I'm gonna hopefully give you a pretty good foundation where you can understand, what's going on and help you figure out how to shop for this insurance a little bit. And right now is open enrollment for my company. So Bullitt County Public Schools offers me health insurance through a private plan. And I have to pick between 3 different plans. I think it's actually 5 plans, but I don't think I'm eligible for 2 of them or whatever it is. And these plans have different premiums, which is the amount you pay every month. And they have different deductibles, which is the amount you pay before the insurance kicks in. And they have different co-pays, and they have different payment structures for emergency rooms, and then in office hospitals, and then elective procedures. And then on top of that, between I gotta pick the 3 plans, they have different price structures for families and spouses. And then my wife has an option. So do we go with my insurance or my wife's insurance? It's a lot. It's really hard, and you shouldn't expect it to be easy. If you lived in another country, developed Western nation, you would have the option to get insurance through the government, and the government would have that health network system of hospitals and doctors who make up the national health strategy, and they do everything for you. And we don't have that. We have the most complicated system on earth, and it's, in my opinion, really stupid. And I'm not trying to poo-poo America as America, but I'm trying to say this is a system that is unnecessarily complicated, and it leads to being the #1 reason why American families and individuals declare bankruptcy, because it really works crappily for health insurance. I'm talking about health insurance. Okay. Life insurance. We're going to talk about life insurance. It's worth having life insurance when you have a family. It totally is. By the way, let me share this with you. And this is on the lesson plan, of course. So you can get the notes from the lesson plans, but the car insurance, the state laws for car insurance are different between Kentucky and Indiana. So when you shop for car insurance now, it's going to look a little different than when you shop for car insurance if you were to move over to Indiana for a job or for a family. Okay. There's some vocabulary words that are the same throughout. We're going to try to talk about that. And can I tell you what you should get? No, because your situation is going to be different, and your risk preference is going to be different. My risk preference is high. I want a high deductible because I don't think that I'm going to be involved in a lot of accidents, and I'm willing to pay a higher deductible to pay a lower premium. My wife insists that we should have the lowest deductible possible, because that means that we have less risk when we do have an accident. Everybody's different, but you should know that if you choose a higher deductible, you will pay a lower premium. And don't worry, we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. Okay. The thing I'm going to leave you with is that insurance is necessary in order to build wealth. And that's because a complete loss of an asset or the complete loss of your ability to generate income in terms of disability insurance or health insurance is a threat to your wealth. You could save $1 million by working hard and being frugal, and one thing might happen and it wipes out the entire savings pot. And so understanding insurance and understanding how to protect yourself is key. And so the name of the unit is Insurance to Build Wealth. And so I'm going to try to talk about how insurance, okay, is used to protect your wealth and to allow you to grow your wealth. It does come back to money. It's not this thing that some students have this perception that I only have insurance because I'm required by law to have it, or I don't need insurance because I don't need to pay this premium every month and I don't want to. You know, I'll just go to the emergency room. By the way, emergency rooms are required to treat everybody that comes through their doors, right? And so if you have insurance or you don't have insurance, if anybody gets hurt and an ambulance is called, that insurance room is required to treat them. But they don't have to admit them to the hospital. They don't have to prescribe and give them medications after they leave. They aren't required to have a follow-up care. And certainly, you know, if you're talking about how an accident or some sickness can financially ruin you, then, you know, preventative medicine could have solved the whole thing. And preventative medicine is not free. And by the way, when people who are not insured go to the emergency room and the emergency room is required to treat them and the emergency room treats them, that gets passed on in hospital bills to everybody else, because the hospitals, most of the hospitals, are businesses in one form or another. Some of them are nonprofits, but they're businesses that have to stay afloat. They have to pay their rent. They have to pay the salaries. They have to pay for new equipment. And so all of those uninsured people being treated leads to higher costs for everyone else. Well, the higher costs gets passed on because it doesn't, you know, when I go to the hospital, I don't pay the majority of my hospital bills. I pay what's left over. I pay my deductible and what's left over in my insurance. And so the people who pay for those uninsured people are the insurance companies in a way. And the insurance companies, in order to pay for those uninsured people, raise the premiums on the insured like me. So my insurance premiums not only represent the risk of me going to the hospital, but they represent the risk of other people who are not insured going to the hospital, because the hospital is going to get paid one way or the other to stay open. And the insurance company is going to get paid to make money for their executives and their stockholders. Okay, so just a little FYI for you. The emergency room is going to treat you if you're uninsured. Okay, but nobody else has to treat you if you're not insured. And there are people who pay cash. There are people who say paying cash for hospital bills are better. You know, I hope we get a chance to talk about some of the crazy hospital bills out there. So, okay, it is 10 o'clock. I introduced the unit to you and we finished up with some of our stuff with budgeting and we talked about the PBLs. Like I said, I was very happy with the PBLs that I graded. I was really impressed. I hope that the budgeting unit was good. Did I post a reflection? If I didn't post a reflection, look for it because I'm going to post it. If you want to come to the ACT meeting Friday at 10:30, please come. And I also want to put a shout out. If you want to join the BVLA energy team, there's a link in the BVLA high school. And then there's a Spanish club also. If you want to do any of those things for extra learning or resume patter or anything else, please feel free to do that. All right, any questions or any comments?